Say again, Dan.
Okay, now we're recording. Okay, cool.
I was just kind of wondering because the API call is happening inside the socket as well. So I was kind of wondering if the API call is taken out of the socket, if it would properly update the data, then pull the data and put it back into the socket, updated.
That's a really good point. I don't know if that's a good pattern to have an async call in a actually that could be the issue. That that could be the issue too. Is I don't think we really should. I didn't even think about that. Yeah, we really shouldn't have that inside a socket, I don't think.
Because what I'm thinking might happen is it fires the async call, but then it has the old data that it pulls back into the socket before the patch is returned with the new data. And so it's not updating it. I'm thinking that could be it.
All this function should be outside of the use effect, you mean?
No, outside the socket on.
Oh, it's a now I did it. Like, do you see I did that function patch and move it outside.
Right, but it's so if you have the API call completely separated, like API call should always be off on their own thing, right? Like you shouldn't write them inside of other stuff, and then you call them from inside the use effect so that the use effect pauses, executes the API call, and then the data might be updated for the socket. Because it could be that it's like kind of like sending that off, and then the data is not updating before the socket pulls the data back in. I don't know if I'm explaining it too well, but it's pulling like the old value before the old value is updated.
Yeah,
is what I'm thinking is happening.
Yeah, so you have your socket on line 81. So if possible, take that patch function but the thing is, do you still have to call that, even though it's defined in the socket on, you're still going to have to call it in the socket on then, correct?
Yeah, but I almost think it would be better to get the user's wins, then patch those wins from the database, like get the data from the database, patch it, update it every time. So like you get their win amount from the database, then you shoot the update back to the database. I think that might be the solution. I'm not sure yet. I want to see what happens with this console logging, but
I see what you say.
Okay,
so something like when we have U1, something outside can happen that it's not on socket on.
Yeah, because I don't like having the front end data being updated to the back end, because the client can manipulate their wins that way, right? So like I would just get the data from the database, update it, send it back, like the value.
Oh yeah, so So what Dan is saying is basically we're not relying on the state of the front end to determine what data has to get updated on the back end. We're actually going to grab it again. We're going to grab the data from the back end, grab it, store it, and then update it, as opposed to saying, okay, well, we're storing the current data in state and then just taking that and patching, pretty much.
So kind of do the API call in the backends?
Yes, so you would get and then patch. So you'd get the data from the back end to know how many games someone's won. So like you would look up like Dan wins 1, right? Then you would take my wins, add 1. So it'd be wins 2, and you'd patch that. You'd say Dan's wins, patch 2, right? Because if you're pulling it from state, right? Like if we're setting it here, you're just doing like the body as games 1 plus 1. If I get Postman and I put my body as games 1, 1008 and send it, do you see what I'm saying?
I see. Yeah. I get it.
Because I have my own bearer token, so I can manipulate the games 1 data that way. So the user can manipulate their games 1.
But just to understand and be sure, we would be doing the API, like all these codes, this part would be in the backend?
No, you have to still, this basically what Dan is saying is that instead of initially doing a patch and depending on the state value in your front end, you're going to be specific and say, okay, let me do a get, see what the server data has, grab it, then take that data and then use a patch. So we're doing, instead of doing a patch and then using the data in state that we have currently, we're going to do a get first, grab it, store it in, we would still need to store it in state, and then do a patch.
Yep.
But then do all this code not defined in the socket on, do it outside the socket on, but you still have to call it in the socket on. Yeah. But
Yep.
before we kind of think about that too much, let's run this with the console logs and see if the data is accurate inside the user state, but before we get to the socket on.
Yeah,
But
'cause that's
that
also
could be a
very,
solution.
very interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, so I will go a little bit faster, but for the first
Yeah.
player, I'm just gonna take a login user. And this one is gonna be who is the host, who creates the host. And I will just give some words.
Yeah, there's with
And
the,
the other ones will be just people who doesn't create an account. So I have 3 players. And I'm just gonna play here. So this is the first round. And the first round has been won for Mao. And the first one. And we go to the second round. And it's also won by Mao. So score is 2. Go to the
Okay.
third round, and Mao cannot play because it's ward. And once this ends right here, it's where everything happens. And right here is gonna work. Everything here is gonna work well.
Because this is the first game. Yeah.
So I'm gonna play again to see
So
what
you do
happens.
new game. So the problem happens in the second game when you're updating the scores. Yeah. The game's
So-
one scores. Yeah.
So I'm gonna do the same kind of thing. I've been trying this all night, so that's because I can go so fast here. Here we
Okay,
go.
okay, now so we're on the second game, and this is where the problem's happening. It's not updating the game's one data from the user.
Right. So
So
all this
let's look at that. Where is that? So we don't see the console log yet, right? So you click the button.
console log. What do you mean? Sorry, say again.
So the console log in the game, what was it, game room? We don't see that yet, right?
Yeah, it's all this at the game room. Do you see
Oh,
it?
okay. Sorry. Okay,
this
yeah.
is
So
the-
we're at 8. We're at 18. Okay.
Yep. And then it says 17 games won before patch. So it's still passing in the old data. So that's what's happening.
Okay.
Here's our problem. And the one in use effect just happens at the beginning.
Which one is the one in the use effect? Yeah.
I guess it's at the beginning, right here.
Okay,
Just
games one
happened.
in use effect, and where is the console inside the socket? Did you identify that differently?
It's right here before patch.
But notice it doesn't do the use effect again either. Right. Like it never console logged it past the first time with the starting of a
Yeah.
new game, right?
Yeah.
So the use effect isn't firing off to update the info.
Well, is that
Right.
because you did that return though, right?
No, I think it helps. That will happen even if I take out the return
Yeah.
socket off. That is what's happening before having that. So right now,
Okay.
the thing I didn't try it out, and I think it's gonna solve it. It's with this like this, and that's I'm guessing it's gonna solve everything.
Wait, what did you have before again?
Plus
Or
one.
+1, and if I do plus, it's just gonna
I always forget the difference between.
the difference was you update the
Oh, after the fact. Yes. Yeah.
so it's kind of gonna update it, forcing the update inside.
Okay. We try that and see.
And I'm gonna go a little faster again.
Does it even call the patch if you click the new game thing? Like when the
Mm.
game's one, it calls that return function with the patch. It executes that.
Yes, it does execute the return. Because
Right.
before putting that return, it was calling twice the socket now, and now it's just calling once.
Okay. I'm just wondering why the use effect console logged only one time.
Yeah.
Like if it has something to do with the socket doesn't change. And I think that that's what it's looking at, the use effects going off the socket.
Yeah. Oh, no, let's see.
Uh,
So now by you doing plus plus, well, you still need the correct data. But yeah, if it's always going to be adding one to it, yeah, that could solve it, even though it's not, we're not figuring out why it, doesn't work.
It should work well before, but
Hmm.
like I say, that I don't understand
Yeah.
why.
Let's see, socket. Let me just something.
So this is the first one, and I think it didn't work. Yeah,
Oh, no. Did it work?
I think it didn't work. I'm just
Should
gonna
be
do
nice.
something. I I prefer to restart the
Yeah.
backend also. So I'm gonna try again this one more time. So this is the first game. We have 18.
Hmm.
I don't see what would make the use effect change, like an update, unless
Hmm.
the socket's closed and reopened. Like I'm not understanding because it's
Hmm.
got the socket passed in. And I'm guessing that's why when you stop and start again, it updates. Like if you fully disconnect and reconnect.
It's not working. Like this even messed up the first
Well,
time because it's not even working the first time.
So plus plus isn't working.
hmm. Well, your the data, can you go back to your
Code.
yeah, the use effect where you did the plus plus. So where in the code again are you updating games? Well, where are you originally updating the games one part of user data?
Give me that one more
What part
time.
of the code? Where in your code are you originally updating the games one part of user data? Where is
So
that coding?
where I'm doing this user data and where?
So set user data is what you get back. And that's, I'm trying to think, and that's, yeah, that's updating correctly because that's hitting the app component.
So when you click for the next game, is it executing your start game function?
Yes, it does.
Okay. So what in your start game function is pulling the updated user data?
I think this part, it's like
Like, where is it getting this user data for? Like when you very first start your very first game, it's pulling the user data from state, right? Somewhere, or from the back
okay.
end somewhere.
Like this part you mean? Or from where I do the gets, it's in login.
So like when every time you start a new game, it calls start game, the function, and I see set game started, set all players ready, set you guess, set guessing your word.
Yeah.
But I don't see where it updates the data for each player.
This is the first time when I log in, I do the get the pause request actually, and the response is this data here.
But you're talking about after you played because when you play out your first game, it's always, you know, 0, it's nothing. But then you're asking Dan about when you played your second game for a new game, where in your code are you updating or pulling information from that, right? Is that what you're asking?
Yeah, because it looks like he gets the data on login. So like that's why they have the 17 games won or whatever when they join the game room. And you update that to 18, right? You patch that. But then when you click start game, I don't see where it updates user data. Like I haven't read all those functions, but set game started, set all players ready, set you guess, and set guessing your word. Doesn't sound like it's doing another pull of the user data for the updated data. And I know you're storing it in state. Like that's kind of what you're trying to do, is get it to store in state. But I think if you just get it.
Oh, I see. I think I understand now your question. So when we do this patch, I set the answer from the backend to be all the new information from the.
But that's during. Oh no, that's when you finish a game, correct? Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I see you're setting user data, but where are you getting the user data on the next new game? Like where are you just accessing user data on the start of your next game when you click start game? Because you're setting it, like we saw that console logged okay, right? It set it to 18. So that appears to be working okay. But I don't see where you're pulling that down for the next game so that they know that it's now 18 instead of 17. Because if you only pull it on login, that variable is not changing, it's 17. So even when you change it, like the use effect's not refiring because you're not disconnecting. And if I might be wrong, but it looks like you're passing in socket. So when socket changes, the use effect refires, right? Right.
Use effect is always going to update because it's always depend on the socket. Yeah.
Right. So if the socket's completely locked in and you're just calling this new thing that says like set game started true.
Actually, that's actually a good point. Can you scroll up again to that socket again? Winner. So socket on winner. Oh, okay.
No, this is for other. This is for if you don't win the game. But this is the socket on that calls the patch.
So, okay, yeah. So this is the game room. So the game room, you have multiple games playing in the game room, right? Kind of obviously, right?
That's the lobby, I think. Right.
Yeah, the lobby has multiple rooms. The game room is where the game's played, right?
Yep.
So what is forcing? So let's go up to our. There's only one use effect in this code, right? In the game room, right?
Right.
Okay. So what's forcing the use effect to run again?
Right now, nothing. I was trying.
Don't we need a parameter here to say, okay, like when there's a new game, don't we have to run this use effect again?
Because
right now it's running once and that's it. So maybe that's the disconnect. Maybe it's nothing to do with sockets because our use effect is running once after initial render of game room, and it's never going to run again. Like if game room is re-rendered, this use effect doesn't run. It only runs once.
Yeah.
So that could be the disconnect. So with use effect, it's basically without any parameters, it runs every time state changes. It runs every time the component re-renders, which will be due to state or props, right? If you put in empty brackets, it runs once after re-render and never runs again. If you put a state variable in the brackets, it'll run once, plus it'll continue to run if that parameter variable changes. But right now, up to that point, it was empty. It was only running once, and it was never going to run again. So maybe that's the disconnect.
What I should put there, like the dependency. It's
Well,
socket good.
that's a
or-
good question. Whatever something's going to change for a new game to happen.
It
Could
looks
be
like the
just-
socket
Is that-
changes, right? It emits something,
it's,
Well,
or any of those states, maybe like set game started. Maybe it should run on
Yeah.
that.
sorry.
Do you have some state variable that identifies? Isn't there something that identifies a new game? Like what tracks what game you're on? You know, game 1, 2, 3, 4. Isn't there a state variable for that?
I have just a new game, I think so, or that game.
Maybe like a total game state or something. And then at the beginning of each game, you should pull the updated user data. I still think you should do that
Mm,
from someone.
yeah.
The beginning of the game, I should.
Yeah, like at
Second.
start game, you should pull like each player's wins, right? Not just when they log in, because I think right now it's just getting it like when they log in, it's getting their games won.
Well, so here's the point too. So remember, if they log in, we track it. If they don't log in, we don't track it. Right?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there would be some users with like, so do we with no data for that? You know, so that really can't be like something you use for the use effect though, but you still want to get that anyway, if they're logging in. And then you want to grab it, like Dan said, for every new game, you really want to grab it from the server as opposed to, I mean, it's not the worst thing in the world to be just dependent on state for something like games 1, but it'd be good practice to grab it from the server each time. Anyway, but that wouldn't really affect the error you're having now with the games not being updated though.
Yeah, I think
Yeah,
it's
but-
just that it wasn't firing the use effect again because we only saw the console log one time.
Right. So the issue we think now is nothing to do with the socket. It's to do with that use effect not running again because you didn't have anything in the parameter list. It was empty, so it's only going to run once.
But what you say then, like updating the information right before, this is not happening here. Like when I get the 200th answer, I'm doing the update.
Right. So the difference, what I'm saying is it's best practices to always pull data from your database instead of from state for a logged in person, because I can manipulate the data if you're pulling it from state, right? Like if you're sending just this patch request, that's all I'm saying. But that seems to be fine. We just need to get your use effect to fire. So I think it's more important to get the game running before we worry about that stuff.
Yeah, that's like just good practices. But the issue at hand is like getting the use effect to run for every new game.
So what do you think? Socket, it's enough to.
Well, the socket's being passed down, right, from context from the app.
Right.
Not passed down, but it's, you know, you're where are you referencing that in this component, the socket? Oh, it's actually, yeah. Oh, yeah. You actually have to because you're actually using it on, you know, all the socket ons. That's where is that being? Yeah, from down use context. Yeah. So try that. Yeah. So when socket's going to change, then yeah, see if that fixes that bug.
I was not sure. I changed this, but I should keep it like ++ or +1.
I would actually do ++ games 1, not games 1 ++. You think it's better, Dan?
Yeah, let's see if that one works.
Okay, here we go again.
But
Which
yeah, I mean, either way, you could update state anyway. But yeah, instead of doing that, but yeah.
What's the difference, Frank, just to see, does this test?
I mean,
with
it may or may not
plus
do a thing.
coming
So usually
before?
the plus plus before a variable will update it before it's actually used. So since it's being passed as a parameter in the body, it may still use the value without actually adding it after the fact. So it's basically it's updating it before it's going to be even used at all. The plus plus before the variable name versus after the variable name.
Yeah, like it would read it, then increment it.
A lot of times it's like it's a moot, but in some instances it makes a difference. Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah. So now, so the problem with our application, versus a regular CRUD is to do testing. We have to play the whole game every time to do any testing. It's not like a simple like post or patch and see if data gets updated. We have to go through this whole process. So that's another thing we can mention in our presentation. Like, yeah, we have to do so much more for testing too.
Yeah. Well, look like the first time is working well. We'll go for the second time.
And Brendan, I posted a link so you can mess with that really quick in a sandbox if you want.
Yeah, I saw that. Thanks, Dan. Appreciate it. I'll check that out.
Just 19 is the last one. Should go to 20 once.
Come on, let's work.
Let's go.
And here we go. This is the moment. And it works. It works.
So
Yeah.
was it because of the use effect socket parameter or the plus plus before?
It's a good question. Well, if you want, we can try. Or we just leave it like that.
It's funny.
Well, can you look
don't
at the
know, yeah.
console log and see if it ran again for the use effect?
Yeah. It's a good check too. Yeah.
Say again, what I do?
Can you see if the use effect ran again in the console log?
Do we take the
Let's see
console
it.
log out of the use effect? No, there it is.
It's just the first time.
Interesting.
Oh, it didn't run again?
It just runs twice now.
But it was
Not one.
Was it once before?
I think so.
But you played 3 times, right? I don't know. I'm confused.
I did play it 3 times. Yeah. Well, we're
Well,
not sure
no.
yet what.
So
It
I'm
it
sorry.
ran
I was
more than it did before,
messaging.
though, right? Because
So-
it was only... Sorry.
I missed the changes. I was doing a message in Slack. So you moved to plus plus and it didn't work. What was that? What happened?
No, I didn't try it again.
No, they were talking about the
parameter
Okay.
console log.
Okay.
don't-
About
But
the
it
use effect.
It did.
I'm guessing it was the use effect parameter, but I could be wrong.
I think the console log got removed. I don't know if that's still in there. Is that still in? Oh, it's still in there.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Interesting. No, I think it's the plus plus maybe, oddly enough.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
But was it a use effect console log only running once before? Or showing up once before you changed the parameter?
Yeah. So it ran there. And so we'll just retest it and see if it runs twice or if the plus plus behind there is the cause. This
If
will
you
give
want,
us
we
our answer.
can check this, but we can move forward because this is already fixed. We have a solution, so you can stop sharing if you want. Or I don't know. Just being curious about this, if it's a plus plus or not. There's something else the other ones wants to check. Sorry for taking all the time today.
Can I ask a question as you're doing that? If non-logged in people are playing, the scoreboard lists their names, but does it also update their score?
Yeah, it does. That's something Cesar working on.
Oh.
It just doesn't display how many games you won. Yeah.
Exactly.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Does the chat box work or not yet? And that was
Yeah,
something
it's
Caesar was working on?
another branch. That's another branch. It's a specific
Okay,
branch.
all right, cool.
And also I have already worked in leave and disconnect equivalence in
Oh, that's
other
working?
branch. Right in this branch now, that in other I'm gonna push later, it is work.
Oh, okay, so you're working on a different branch that has the disconnect and leave room working. Okay. But that branch you didn't push up, you're still working on it. Okay. Right.
Yeah, that
Okay.
the place of the plus plus affects blood right now. It's not even working here. So yeah, I think the plus plus was the main thing that still.
That's weird though, isn't it? Like, not necessarily that's the fix, is just that like I would think that you need this user vec to run when the socket changes. Like I thought that would be like, it could be, I guess, part of it too. Maybe you need both. I don't know.
Well, thank you for helping
But yeah,
me
so
this.
yeah, so keep on, working with this, and then as you make changes with your other branch, Well, so in your other branch, you didn't have on like you have a 109, you didn't have that parameter socket. So
In the branch you have.
So the branch that's in GitHub doesn't have these changes, obviously. This is the branch that is the branch that is different than the branch online as far as a different branch.
Yes, but I was doing so many changes, and I think in the one we have in GitHub, it has this socket-like parameter.
Oh, it does. Oh, okay.
So it was there at the beginning, but I erased.
Oh, you took it. You maybe took it out. Okay. Okay. So we'll still. So all right. So we'll still. Yeah. We'll just maybe have some merge conflicts later. Okay. Yeah. With other things. Okay. Okay. Cool. At least that we kind of figured out. Hopefully. The chat part, was that Caesar's branch?
Yes.
Is that working okay?
Yeah, we got it figured out yesterday with Mouse.
Do you want to demo it if you have it set up, or if you're not, it's okay.
Sure, yeah, I can demo it.
Okay.
Yeah, it'd be cool to see. I'm curious what it's like.
Are you filtering out bad words? Because Dan likes to curse a lot, so we make sure we keep that in check.
No, I was thinking we keep that in.
That'd be a
Keep it in for
future
Dan.
feature. Yes.
Automatically bold them or something.
We could have like a future feature. Replace curse words with like funny words or stuff like that. Like all bad words become like from a category of like daisies, unicorns, rainbows. A funny array of non-offensive words.
Hey, just as he's running this, has anyone else gotten, is the dev branches running for everybody else?
I didn't pull down dev recently.
Could someone just pull the most recent devs? Because I've done it multiple times. I just can't get the damn thing to run. Right. I mean, it'll run, but it won't do some of the basic features that I've posted. I don't want to distract from I want to see the chat, but I just thought people might be able to try that while we're waiting. Oh, it's
who says it's running?
Is it will it let you
play the game,
new
like play
username or like play without creating a login or create a new login? Those are the things it won't let me do.
And Brandon, in my case, the error you receive it happens when I try to test disconnected, like when I play like a user who doesn't have an account. So normally I was testing without Wi-Fi to save my data mobile. So I received that error you have in the backend when I was without Wi-Fi. So I think the problem is, for some reason, you are not connected to the Wi-Fi in the backend. I don't know why.
Well, the back end is going to be local. The only thing, so right now we haven't gotten to deployment yet. I'm going to try to do that. But the only thing that's going to be using the network is the Mongo, because the Mongo is remote.
Yeah.
So if you're logging in, you're going to have to hit the Mongo. If you're not logging in, you're just running the local server front end and back end.
Yes, but the backend needs to connect to Mongo anyway.
Oh, it still connects. You're right. Even if you're not logging in, it still connects. Yeah, my bad. Never mind. Sorry about that.
I don't know why my backend wouldn't be connecting to the Wi-Fi. Alejandro posted something in Slack that I couldn't quite follow. I was trying to look into, but anyways, we
he
can
did?
pause
Okay.
on that so we can see the chat feature. I just wanted to check.
All right. So yeah, this is a
Oh.
No,
here.
This is test player. Where does it say the player name?
Right next to it's kind of jumbled up.
Oh, okay, yeah. Yeah, eventually, well, we have time. We'll have to, do a little re-architecting the UI, but I mean, for now, it's fine. But yeah, that's awesome. Yeah.
that's very cool.
Oh, I have okay, so test player 1, player 2. Do one more message in the left one. Test player
Okay.
1. Do another message. Test player 1. Yeah. Okay, yeah, because test player 1 says, I guess the only thing that makes it confusing is like the person who's sending the message still sees their name. That's all. Like, you mean that's the only thing that confused me, because it's like, if you're sending a message, well, I guess I haven't done chat in a while. Like, when you do chat, like you're sending a message, do you still see your name as well, or you just see the message? You know what I mean?
Like,
Yeah.
Because you know what you sent. And again, we could also, if you want to, again, it's probably going to be more work, but if you want to, we're like, your messages are one color, and you'll need to see your names. You know who you are, but the other messages are in another color, right? Because it'll be everybody else's. So instead of saying, when you're in test player 1, I don't need to see test player 1 new message. I just need to say new message, and then maybe you put that in a different color. You know what I mean? But then and then in the person who's seeing the different messages, it'd be like, they see messages from everybody else with their name, because they want to know who said it. But then when they say something, they don't need to see what their username is, just to see the message, but then maybe make that in a different color.
Nice.
Just a thought.
Yeah, I like
Just a
that
thought.
idea.
You know what I mean? Because otherwise it's like, where's my messages? Not that versus everybody else's messages. That's all.
Gotcha. Yeah, I think that's a good idea.
Is that kind of accurate, Dan, you think? Usually, I mean, I'm doing a lot of chat stuff other than Slack, but yeah.
Yeah, I like the color idea. Discord, you see your
Okay.
name. I don't know.
Oh, it does? Okay, I didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah, I'm thinking
But,
back to AOL when you start talking about chat.
AOL. Come on now, get with the program.
Throwback.
I'm older than you, and I forgot about AOL already. Come on.
I am.
They're still in
AOL,
business
yeah.
somehow.
They are? Really? No
Yeah.
way.
Yep.
That's
So,
nice.
Caesar,
What are they doing?
does that mostly just use sockets? Your
It's
chat?
all sockets, yeah.
That's cool.
Yep.
All right.
Yeah.
Look forward to it.
It's the same thing as like the game data. It's the same thing, except you're like just seeing it, but the same thing with, when you're playing the game, when someone guesses, the other people, aren't. Oh, so I didn't look too closely yet, but when you, Mauricio, when you guess something, does the other people see that you guessed, or no, not you haven't got to that point yet?
Not yet.
Okay, all right.
Well,
But if you ever get to that, that's still the same kind of, yeah.
Once the round ends, you can see it in the scoreboard. That's something that Brandon and Caesar are working on.
Okay, all right. Cool. Awesome. So yeah, so Caesar has the chat. But so the chat, where do you put the chat code? I didn't look at that yet. Where do you put the chat code in Caesar? What file?
In the back end, it's an app, and in the front end, it's in game room. Well,
So yeah,
it's
so
in
you're gonna
game chat inside a
game
room.
chat. But there's no code in game room, or there's a little bit of code in game room, and then most of it in game chat.
There's no code in game room. We're just passing in the username to game chat from game room.
Okay, but yeah,
But yeah,
there'll still be
no logic.
no logic, but there'll still be a reference to it. So that'll be, yeah. So you still have a little bit of merge conflicts because you're still updating the game room, file. Okay.
Okay.
So, okay. So, but that'd be a very simple, merge conflict. So with Mauricio, do you want to update? Do you want to keep that branch out there, or do you want to should we just pause and you push your changes to a new branch? We can just delete this branch that's out there for your changes you're working on and fixes you're working on now. What do you think?
I just pushed the last changes we did right now, so it's ready to.
Oh, you did? Okay.
Merge.
On in the one's record. Okay. Okay, cool. All right, yeah, so we can get that merged today. Okay, for the back end and the front end. So chat, updated gameplay from Mauricio. Awesome. So what are next steps? So is anybody updating our notes? Maybe not. 419, we're 422. Okay, so let's update this our notes real quick.
Maybe I can ask Dan or Frank to stay on a little after and figure out why mine still isn't working right. I'm so confused.
Yeah, I can help you. I have my node class in 40 minutes. But other than that, I'm free.
Yeah, I just have the mix. I have to help out Mary Alice with pre-work with the upcoming advanced students at 2. I could probably stick around for a little bit, but do some prep work for that. Let me just give me a minute here when I want to update the notes document.
Maybe you can.
Oh, go
In
ahead.
the meanwhile, we can try to see that, Brennan, or maybe I don't know until Frank ends, or that's a bad idea.
Just try to run it. Share
Yeah,
my
if you want to,
screen.
yeah, you can share. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean it's pretty simple. It's just the stuff I'd put in Slack or the main errors, but yeah, I was trying to see if my node version was up to date. There was something in this Stack Overflow that Ale shared, but anyways, you can see it's in the dev branch, and I can show you it's up to date with dev. This is the back end. So already up to date. And then same here on the front end. Up to date. But then I'll just run them. And I'm assuming, well, you just ran it, Abu. Did you see any error like this in your terminal when you ran it?
What's your .env look like?
Yeah, I think that's the backhand is.
Oh, yeah.
full.
You see that, Dan?
Yeah, I
That's
can see it.
interesting. Abu's not getting the same error message either. Did you want to see that anymore, or you got it?
You're just having an issue connecting to the database, it looks like, to Mongo. So that's what I'm kind of wondering.
Yeah, I guess so. Just to show the error here, whoops. You know, if I try to do something like this is one of the errors, trying to reconnect again.
Yeah, that's because the backend never runs up, and the problem is fired because you never connected that the MongoDB. So everything
Okay,
is the
yeah.
backend.
Yeah. So if the
So-
Mongo doesn't connect, nothing else is going to work. Yeah.
So why do we think it's not connecting? I guess is the question.
You
I
go to
did
the
do- Sorry.
DB,
Did you?
Yeah, this is it, the .env.
no, I mean the DB source DB.
Oh, DB.
Yeah, like connect.js.
Well, that should all be that shouldn't have changed, right?
Yeah, that should
Yeah.
be fine because you just pulled. So
So the env information that's posted as a pin that hasn't changed, right?
as far as I know, his looks like it matches mine.
Yeah.
Yours-
Okay.
Yours isn't having this issue, Dan.
No, I just was on it.
Yeah, and it's also doing the same thing if I, try to create an account or something.
Yeah, your server's not spinning up. It's saying that it's having an issue with Mongo. So just need
I wouldn't troubleshoot this anymore. What I would do is pull down the latest branches from Mauricio or Caesar and see if you still have the same problem. So that we can narrow it down. So
Are
if
those
you just
pushed, Joe?
well, it doesn't be, yeah, it's pushed. You don't, it's not to be merged into dev. So take
Right.
the latest branches. Like when you do a pull, it'll take the latest branches, and you can just check out those two branches on front and back end and see if that still doesn't work. If that still doesn't work, then it must be something local to either the env or your computer for some reason.
Would it be one of these? Why is that all there are? Doesn't
Uh,
seem like the full list, is it?
what's the it's games one, right? Yeah,
Oh, it is.
It's one record.
yeah.
What's that?
You're not gonna see it there because it's in the GitHub. But
Oh, okay.
check out
What's it called?
Did you do a git pull?
record.
Did you do a git pull first?
Yeah, it's all the dev should be. I just pulled it a second ago.
Okay, yeah, just do a git checkout for that branch. Games one record
All one word.
with dashes.
With dash.
Games one record. Okay.
Mhm.
No, games one, like winning.
WWON. Yeah.
Oh, of course. Okay, and then what on the front end?
And do the same thing for the back end. Yeah, same name.
Games.
So yeah, as long as a branch is pushed, you can then pull it down. You don't have to wait until it gets merged into dev.
Yeah, no,
and then you can
that
see
makes sense.
if it makes any any differences. Maybe there's some weird thing in what dev is now that's causing a problem too. We don't know.
That's not working though. I think that's not quite the right name for the front end. Games. What's the?
Shouldn't it be all the same? Yeah, games
Yeah, it's the same.
one
Something.
record. Yeah. Mhm.
Well, did I do something wrong there? This is the front end.
You did a git pull for this as well.
Mm-hmm.
To do a git pull again on front.
Wait. Why? This is bizarre. Why does it say hide profile option now? Oh, wait. This is my bad. This I had switch branches to work on this high profile option, but I'd run it multiple times with dev, so I don't think that was it. Let me just so git pull with dev, right?
Okay,
Already up
so
to
there it
date.
is, yeah.
And then
No,
git
it wasn't
check out
updated.
games 1 record.
One record, yep.
Please
Oh,
commit.
okay, yeah, so
Oh,
do your commits first, yeah.
so I gotta switch back to.
No, it wouldn't, did switch it or no? It wouldn't, I
No,
don't
it
think it would switch
aborted.
it yet. Yeah,
Well, it's
you just
back
make
in
your
dev
commit.
now. Because I had this
No, you're in your front, aren't you?
yeah.
Yeah, so you just commit your changes before you check out a different branch, that's all.
Even if I'm in dev, I can commit for a different branch than dev.
It was another branch before, Frank.
Yeah, I was working on this high profile option.
Oh. Oh, but why does it have dev as dev with a exclamation point? You're making changes in dev too? Or no?
You mean up here?
Okay, go, but you should have been moving. So yeah, do that, try that now, see if that works. Check out high profile option.
Yeah, sorry, I'm not trying to have to get everybody in on this. It's just.
Oh yeah, then do a commit your changes, yeah.
Okay. So this is.
Oh, we could just that in your command line too. Okay.
Yeah, okay. So now.
Yeah.
Switch to dev
check
or
out.
switch to the
No,
game.
check out games 1 record. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Okay. Now we can run this one. Yeah.
I mean, it's still strange to me that it worked for Abu. But
I don't know.
come out.
Welcome to the exciting world of programming.
Brendan's our
Let's
QA.
see
without knowing
the
it.
backend. Brendan, if you stay there, we're gonna see if
Oh,
it's
yeah.
connected.
Same
No,
thing.
it's still.
Yeah,
I'm-
connecting. Query.
I'm just guessing. Maybe. Do you remember Alejandro's the first time pushed the .env and then he erased it? For some reason, we had something similar with Abu the other day. So maybe you can just erase your .env and put it back. I'm just
Copy
getting
this in there.
I just also paste .env in the chat right now. If you
Okay, and so just delete it and create a new one.
maybe that's something we did with Abu the other day.
Do you want me to? It should be ignoring that, right? Well, or is it not being ignored? Just no, it is. So I can do that and it won't affect the branch.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Okay.
There's some weird issues too on Stack Overflow with like DNS servers and updating your node. And then some people said like rebooting or connecting to a different internet fixed it. Like a DNS server could be having an issue.
Yeah, it seems
They're
like that was
located.
what Ale was sharing.
Yeah.
You can natively go to Mongo Atlas and see if you can even connect there, you know.
Yeah, same problem.
Yeah, it could be just something on your network part for some reason. I don't know.
Yeah, sorry. What I don't know if people want me to keep trying here now or if someone wants to
Go to
stay.
your, if you want, we can add like a DNS server really quick under your networking options. If we and see if that fixes it really fast.
Is that in here?
Go to your system preferences,
Yeah.
Oh,
click on network when that loads.
network.
Click on the first option. It says first connection and click advanced. You're there, so click advanced.
Okay.
Select the DNS tab. Now add. Yep. 208.67.222.222. And then there's one more to add. So enter that one. Now add another one. 208.67.220.220.
That's
Click
Dan's
OK.
personal proxy server.
So we just
This is
okay.
OpenDNS, not me.
So just okay on that.
Yeah, apply. And then see if it works.
Okay.
Cross fingers.
Should just be the back end. I need to restart, right?
Yeah, it's working. You have the app.
So
It's
it's a
listening.
so it's a network thing. Wow,
Yeah,
interesting.
What does
DNS
that
server.
mean? What's that mean though, y'all? I don't understand. Like,
Go.
what-
Hey, Brendan, can you go do me a favor? Sorry, and go back to that just for a second.
back to the
To
network.
what you just did. Yeah.
Uh,
Okay, let me just do a quick screenshot. So if anybody runs into that issue, I can post that in there.
okay.
Cool. Thank you.
So what a DNS is, Brendan, is it's just a phone book of IP addresses. Basically, we type in something like google.com, which is actually like 8.8.8.8.
Oh.
So your phone book was missing a page, essentially, like to Mongo.
Oh,
So now you're pulling your addresses from a different DNS server that's updated.
okay. And so I can leave these in my system and it won't F anything up.
Yeah, those are from OpenDNS. That'll be fine.
Okay.
And you can also, if you're nervous about that, you can use 8.8.8.8.
Whatever you all suggest, I don't know. I don't really understand it.
Yeah, I mean that's Google, so it's probably not going to hurt anything. But you should be fine with those ones.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. So now it should work fine in here, huh? Ah,
Cool.
here.
Excellent.
Okay. Well, thanks you all. Appreciate it.
Excellent. Great job.
Strange that it was.
CTO.
Is this the first time that we were really using the database? Is that why it might have come up now and not before?
Your connection probably changed, and so DNS is refresh based on your location and stuff, and they'll just refresh randomly too.
Yeah. So when you use your internet provider, they change those was it DNS server addresses, right?
Yep.
Dan? So they probably went to a bad one or some weird
Okay.
one. Yeah.
Thanks, you all.
Yeah.
I did do a small little thing, but it was I don't know if we I can just comment in Slack too. It's just to hide the profile navigation option if someone's not logged in. I think it's sort of working, but
Okay. Oh, cool. I just wanted to so okay, let's redo so we're finishing sprint 1. We still have things in progress. Do we? Oh yeah, so did you push a that thing you just did, Brandon? Did you push it? You didn't push it yet, right?
well, no, because I didn't have this working to really fully test it. It seemed like it was. I don't think it's quite working. I might. I'm trying to remember exactly what the status was. I'm a little disoriented now. But yeah, I think it's mostly working.
Okay, so I just moved the tickets to Sprint 2. Not that it makes a big deal, but not that we're following Jira too closely, but we are somewhat. I just want to see what the upcoming tasks are for this week. So what do we have working on this week? So we know Risu fixed that issue with the gameplay. He's continuing to work on the gameplay. Is that something? I'm not that. Let's see, user admin. Mauricio. So Mauricio, you could be continuing to work on the gameplay. Was Alejandro helping you, or was he in? Is that something that you worked on in the past with him?
Alejandro is doing the count for the rounds, like 30 seconds. Until...
Oh, okay. Look at that. So he's working on. Let me see. He's working on the. Working on gameplay counter or timer.
I think it was already there. Like, how do you call it? Sorry.
Well, he didn't complete it because he didn't push a PR then, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, she's still working on it.
Was already in progress, I think so.
Okay, yeah, in progress. Okay. So Alejandro, gameplay timer. Riso, you continue to work on the gameplay. Caesar, what do you want to be working on? Because he just finished the chat. Do you want to continue to tweak the chat and do a little more things on it?
Yeah, I can definitely keep doing that. Open to suggestions though. I don't know how much like we want to add to it before like styling is involved.
Yeah, just like you can add like, not. I guess now we're more just like styling, formatting. Like the idea I had of like not displaying the current users name and just putting a different color for all their messages. You could work on that if you want, but that's okay.
Okay.
Tweak UI of chat, of gameplay chat. Yeah, apart from that, I think. Could you go back to the screen again? Sorry. If someone could go back to the game, I guess Caesar is the only branch that has the gameplay chat working. So yeah, unless someone else pulled it. Can you just go back to that just for a minute?
No problem. I just need to open the browsers up again.
Yeah. What are you putting all those BRs there, Caesar? Line 154 to 158. What's with that? BRs all over the place. This isn't 1998. We're not using BRs anymore. Wow.
Wait, what do you use instead of BR?
Why does it
I
work?
those around a lot.
Jesus Christ. BRs all over the place.
What are you supposed to do it in CSS?
Of course. We're developers. we're that's what we are now. We don't use BRs.
I'm gonna have to purge my BR habits myself then.
No BRs allowed. No BRs. I don't want to ever see a BR. Okay. So game room. Okay. So you're saying to everybody, do we want to? Again, it's depending if you want to continue to work on. Do we want to send private messages? Was that something we talked about? Or is that too much? Is that too much?
Maybe.
I don't believe we've talked about it.
Okay. Is that too much, Dan?
It might be just with design coming up and stuff.
Okay, good. So how about we, okay, so Caesar's cool with the suggestion of doing the separate color for your own messages and then taking your username out for your own, right? How about we put a little label? Oh, here we go, perfect. I don't want that input box under, I want it above. Because it's supposed to be 80 messages. I have to scroll down to type a message.
Yep.
Cool. Perfect.
Okay.
So we'll do we just say red color for your own messages. Do not display username for your own messages. Keep input field above I can't spell, above all messages. Also, how about we just very, very basic CSS. Why don't you put a little how about we restrict the height? So if we have 50 messages, I don't want to have this huge list. So how about we define a fixed height, and then we use a vertical scroll for that? Does that sound okay?
Makes sense.
Add fixed height, with a border, just a little, 1 pixel border, let's say. Add fixed height and use vertical scroll bar, say,
Do you want recent
maybe
messages
only-
on top, like have it pushed down?
Dan, you're reading my mind. Only show recent. No. Show latest. Yeah. So show latest messages on top. So just reverse the order. So to do that, if it's going to be an array, you can just do like instead of doing push, do what? Unshift. Is that it?
Yeah.
Add it to the beginning. Use unshift instead of push. Can't spell.
Wait, so
Okay.
where it says in the left screen, test player 2 hi, like that's the most recent message that'll be flipped?
Yeah, it'd be flipped. Yep.
Oh,
Because you don't want to see the latest message. You want to see at the bottom because you're not going to read all the way down the bottom. So yeah. So also you want to left align. I think you've centered. You want to left align that, right? Left align
Okay.
messages. I don't want to see it centered, right? Left align messages. How about we restrict the length of messages? Length of each message. That's an easy fix in the input box. You can just say, max characters, what, 50, however long you want it. You want them writing a book. Any other little tweaks?
I mean, it's nitpicky, but you could have like a slight delay so they can't just spam.
Yeah, you can do it. You can just add a set timeout if you want of like maybe like a second.
Yeah.
Of course, that would defeat the purpose of a. That'd be funny. That you want everything immediate with WebSocket. We're going to delay the web. Like, no, that's not so fast, Mr. WebSocket. Let's delay that WebSocket just a little bit. Yeah, I mean, if you want to for fun, add slight delay. Maybe 1 second to prevent spamming. That's optional. You don't have to do that, but it's a cool thing too. If you want to go crazy, we can add a little animation where it fades in, but I don't do that. It might be cool though. So yeah, you can, those are a bunch of little chat things that you can kind of play around with. Some of it's kind of like, fairly straightforward. It's like one piece of code fix, changing from push to unshift, a little bit of styling, so those are our major changes. Max characters, for the length, so I put that in the comments in our notes for that one, but like little things, so that'd be pretty cool. I like to see in the, I'm just looking at it now for, I guess, Mauricio, it says current players are, how about we put that in a drop down? Instead of having like, if I have 5 players, I want to see a huge list going that way. Either do a drop down or maybe we do a bulleted list, maybe. What do people think about that?
What was the second thing you said, or what kind of list?
Like a bulleted list, bullets.
Oh. Yeah, I think something like that could be a little easier to read. I'd be glad to do that part.
Okay. We would either work with Mauricio, or do it. Probably you have to get his latest branch and work on that, or just work with Mauricio on that since he's working on those changes. Like, otherwise, you'll have to do some merge conflicts. That's up to you how you want to work on that. But that'd be kind of cool, and some the dashes next to him. Just like
wouldn't
little,
it just
just
be-
like little things. Yeah.
I think it's just a front end like formatting change though. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Yeah, that's all it'd be. But yeah, just only because Mauricio's working on that same file. That's the only thing. So however you want to work through that, whether you work on it together or separately, just to have merge conflicts. But you would have to wait till Mauricio kind of does his latest push to be able to work on that. That's all.
It's done. It's like I did it. I did all the push I need.
Okay. Okay. Cool. So yeah, the leave room disconnect stuff you have already done. What were other little things of the gameplay we were thinking about? So Alejandro's working on the timer. What other things we were thinking of?
And Frank, the PP number, which one is it? 42 is about these two buttons we have right here, the leave room and disconnect, right? The
Oh, as a 11.2, as a developer, I want the general logout functionality next to username and nav. Is that the one you're talking about? BP42, as a developer, I want general logout functionality next to username.
quit versus logout. It's what we have here, like leave room and disconnect, right?
Okay. Okay. That you're saying that's what you just worked or you finished? I couldn't hear
Yes,
some of your.
I'm not sure if it's what you mean in the DP. Is that or it's something different?
In the either lot, what was it? I forget. It was I think I have to leave soon. I'm trying to remember what I was thinking of. Yeah, like in a menu, we would have a menu where it's just basically, yeah. So the leave room would be kind of there, but like the disconnect would be maybe towards like in a menu where we have like a user profile information. So maybe like because we don't really have like a menu yet, maybe having the disconnect in a different place, so it's like they don't accidentally disconnect. So basically, the only thing a user really would want to do is leave a room. If they disconnect, they would go directly to the leave room goes to the game lobby. The disconnect goes to the landing page, and just maybe moving them differently. Yeah, so a disconnect could be part of like a header nav. So at the very top where that says hamburger nav placeholder, we don't need a hamburger. We could just have like oh, and also it's a great point too, going from what kind of sort of what I was home to Caesar. Let's put the username and the disconnect in like a top right hand corner in like a header. How about that?
Mm-hmm.
Because otherwise I'm confused where the username is. I don't know where it is. We see username in the chat, but we don't want that. So how about like a top right hand corner for like a menu, which eventually we'll build out maybe down the road. We'll have the username like welcome, whatever. Well, once you're in the game room, you can just say whatever username, but username, and then next to it like a disconnect. And then somewhere else we can have a leave room.
And it's disconnect, not log out.
Yeah, it's the same
word we want to
same
use.
thing. Yeah, you can, if you want to change the word, it's fine. I don't know, doesn't matter. Yeah, for now. Yeah, you can say log out.
They're kind of different, aren't they? Because you like log in to the landing page, then you connect to the game lobby.
I would just say, yeah. So again, that's the other point. Yeah. So if you're a logged in user, then you would have log out. If you're just a playing user, you would have disconnect. I think that's what the issue was. It would just it's basically like it would
just
technically do two different things. So the disconnect would disconnect your socket, but if you're disconnecting, you're pretty much gonna log out. I guess we'll assume that, right?
Yeah, it's kind of the same, just
yeah. I guess you're right. It's just that even though it's slightly different, let's just call it the same. Just say log out.
Yeah.
And then we can put the log out button next to their name in the top right hand corner, so we identify quickly, oh, I'm this user, you know. And then somewhere else we'll have a list of all the users, so we see the other users and formatted like a list if you want to do that way, instead of having it across like you have now. Just like little tweaking of like super basic styling, you know. Those are
But
little
we
things
do
that you
want
could
log out. Sorry, Frank, we do want log out to only show if they're a logged in user.
No, let's leave log out for now, and it'll just do different things if they're a logged in user versus just a playing user, you know. So we'll call it log out, but then behind the scenes we'll either log them out and disconnect or just disconnect, you know.
Okay.
So technically, if they're logged in user, they have to disconnect from the socket and log out their token, versus if they're just coming into play, we're just going to disconnect their socket and that's it.
So yeah, I don't know, the whole showing the profile page or not for logged in users is related to the nav placeholder. So if we're going to get rid of that, I don't know if the changes I've been working on are
yeah. So that'll be the same thing too. So we won't have a drop down or anything. So that navigation would be on the right hand side. It'd be your username, and then your logout. But then once you have that profile in place, that name will be a hyperlink, will be a link, and that link will go to your profile.
And it
So that'd be the same. We won't have a drop down or anything, or a hamburger. We don't really need that right now. It'll just be a regular link. Yeah, and you'll be clicking your username to go to your profile. Yeah, that worked fine.
It just wouldn't be a hyperlink if you're not a logged in user.
Correct. Yep, would be perfect. Yep, because there's no profile if you're not logged in. Yep.
Okay, well maybe
cool, so all your stuff is still valid. Yeah.
Well, no, it was all related to the hamburger navigation, but I think I can just work with Caesar if he's gonna.
Oh, okay.
We're suggesting he works on the thing you're talking about in the right hand corner, and I'll just kind of assume the
Caesar was the chat. Mauricio was just the moving of the disconnect and the username. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, maybe I'll. So is anybody on the change to put the username in the top right?
That was probably Mauricio, right? Mauricio?
What do you say again? I got distracted.
Put the username in the top right hand corner along with the disconnect, or you call it logout button. Yeah.
Sure, I can work on that.
Okay. And again, Brendan can work with you too if you as well. And then Caesar was just updating the chat, and Alejandro was working on the timer in the game room. So again, there'll be some merge conflicts there. What else do we have?
Deployment, the pre-deployment, I was thinking.
Yeah. Oh, also for the deployment, I'll work on that. Can you just do me a favor and add that test API, that test route, that little test me?
I did it. I put it the test.
You did? Okay, cool. Yeah. So I'll work on a deployment. I was going to do some of it now, but kind of running late already. But I'll do that, and I'll show you for next meeting how it's going to work. It's really just kind of basically someone has to have an account on Render to do it. Since I already have one, I was just going to do that there. And also, you have to have an account on Render, and then you then had to go an account on Render, and then basically install the Render deployment service in the GitHub. And only really I can do that, and Mary Alice has to do that. So I had that already set up already, but I'll show you the Render stuff for Wednesday. And also, the front end is automatically deployed. That's why you see those messages that Brendan doesn't like. So every time there's a new merge in the front end, well, or back end, those messages pop up. But also, the front end is already linked to a different deployment service called Vercel. If you've noticed Vercel in some of those messages, so basically, so the front end is already deployed. It gives you a link. You can just test it out. It just doesn't work because it doesn't connect to a backend, because the backend isn't there yet. It's it's just local. And then once the backend is deployed, then we have to figure out, well, how do I connect the front end live to the back end live. I'll probably have to make a change in the code or tell somebody to make a change to how to connect to it. So it'll probably be the backend will give us like a URL to use, and that's the URL that you're going to use. Would be like an either or. So basically, we'll have to figure out. So right now, the front end is connecting to localhost 8,000. It's 8,000, right? Yeah, 8,000. Will have to be 8,000 or this new URL that's going to be used with render. So we're using Vercel for the front end, and we're going to use render for the back end. So the back end will create its own URL. It'll still be the same routes, but that has to be put in the front end code. Otherwise, they'll be looking for localhost 8,000 online, and obviously there's no localhost 8,000. Sure. So I'll work on that and just tell whoever or post it of whoever's working on the front end in some branch, you have to update this code, and we'll always have that update. So I'll work on deployment for the meeting on Wednesday.
And can you show some of that to us, like the process, even though you have to do it? I know. I think me and Caesar both had said we were interested in seeing how that's done.
I'll show the back end and also the front end too. It's all kind of the same, it's just different services. That's all. Yep. So Vercel is like easy for the front end setup. It's just literally just setting up your repo, and it does it automatically. Render's the same thing, but you can't automate it because GitHub has certain GitHub actions, and a lot of it. There's ones for GitHub actions for deployment, but it only is set up to automatically deploy for certain services. So render is still kind of new. It doesn't have that, but it has like Vercel, Netlify, I think Azure, but it has to have that GitHub actions to deploy automatically. Again, render is pretty new, and render can do actually front end or back end, but we mainly use render for back end. So in the Node Express course, we were using Heroku. But Heroku took down its free service like a couple months ago. So now we switched to render for people who are doing the Node Express course. So now we're going to just use render going forward. So we use render for all our backend stuff for practicums too. So again, that would be more clear once I kind of set up and show everybody on Wednesday. Something like this. And okay. Reso bullet list in game room, and then move username and call just log out link to top right hand corner of game room.
You gotta give me something to do, Frank. I thought I was on the bullet list. I don't have anything to do.
Well, you can see Mal and Brandon here.
I mean, it can just be its own branch, right? It's not going to be any merge conflict with just.
Well, it will be because it's all in the same game room file. That's all. That's why I was trying to eliminate some merge issues. That's all. Because all this, as you see, in front of you, this is all going to be. It's all in the same file. Even though we have a couple. Even though we can put that. So if you want to, you can create like a header component and put it in there. You can do that too if you want.
Well, I guess I was
put that in.
It didn't seem like it was going to be any significant merge conflicts, but
yeah, then that's fine. Yeah, then that's totally fine. Then yeah, put in separate, header component, which I don't think we have now. Yeah, so that's totally fine. You can work on that.
So
and
it's in a different file. Okay.
Yeah, that's totally fine. Yeah, and then you'll minimize. You'll still have a merge conflict, but it'll be really small. It'll just be like, rendering that child component of a header component. That's all. Okay. I think
we also wanted to list the other players. Oh, that's what Brendan just said, right?
Yeah, the other players is sorry.
Oh, sorry. I was just going to clarify. We do want to show the list of the other players in the room, and that's
yes. Yeah. So we're just reformatting what we have now, instead of going across, we're just going to do it like a bullet list or something, whichever looks nicer. Yeah. So we already have the
Okay.
list of players in the room. We're just, yeah. Oh, going back to list of players as a future thing, we don't have, do we have the list of players in each room in the game lobby or not yet?
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, we do?
Mhm. Yeah, we did that last week, I think. Doesn't look great just because we haven't really been doing CSS stuff, but
Okay.
Yeah, I signed in twice, so they're
Oh,
repeating.
okay. Gotcha. Yeah. So
But
how about,
you can see.
yeah. So how about this? If Brendan and Caesar want to work on that, we can have another thing. And here, and format, or we just say style.
yeah, that's something that came up
Style.
last meeting too, Frank, just as to build on what you're saying, that like
Yeah.
we had said that I think Caesar and me and maybe Mackenzie were gonna work on some kind of CSS library. Because it
Yeah, I think we decided on using a Tailwind last
yeah,
meeting.
Oh yeah, if you want, whichever you want to use, yeah, that's fine. Yeah.
because should some of our formatting changes, should we just try to start doing it through that, or
Whichever way you want. It doesn't make a difference to me. Yeah.
Yeah.
If you want to use Tailwind, yeah. So okay, so I added that in the notes. For Brendan and Caesar, have list of users in each room formatted in the list per room. You can maybe do a drop down, maybe. It's up to you how you want to style it. How you want to format it. Yeah. Okay. Any other things we can think of? Game lobby, game room, gameplay. What else? Is that good for now? All good, Caesar and Mauricio?
Whenever you have time today, can you approve the merge or game
Yeah.
mode?
Yeah. I'll do that today. Yep. Yeah, I'll do that today.
Nice.